Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second day of Mobile World Congress. We have a very special guest today with us, Jake Saunders from ABI Research, Vice President of Asia Pacific Region. Hi, Jake. Nice
Hello.
to have you here.
Pleasure to be here, Daniel.
Thank you, Jake. So let's start with the basics. Can you tell us something about yourself?
Sure. Well, I've been in the industry about 25 years, been mostly covering sort of telco strategy, infrastructure, base station, counting base stations,
Yes.
obviously looking at all the different parts and components of the base stations. And inevitably over the last 7 or so years, I've written a number of reports looking at the antennas, which are really an important part of what makes the network work, in my opinion.
Correct. Thank you, Jake. Thank you for that. Let's talk about a little bit about 5G Advanced. It's been, since its release, June 2024,
Yeah,
it's been a very well-spoken topic in the industry.
sure.
Artificial intelligence and network also intelligence has been integrated into this type of standards since back then. And we hear a lot about it recently. What can you tell us about 5G Advanced and most importantly, what's coming in the future from ABI's research point of view?
Sure. I mean, 5G's done quite well. We're up to about sort of 300 operators.
Yes.
I think 5G Advanced is about 60 plus or more operators already adopted the standard.
Correct.
It does turbocharge things on a 5G basis. I think certainly sort of the downlinks, the down throughput would be, certainly over 50 sort of gigabits per second.
Correct.
Uplink could be 10 gigabits per second.
Correct.
That's an awful lot of traffic. Enables additional support for IoT devices in the environment. Also NTN, non-terrestrial network,
Correct.
in terms of getting SATCOM links.
Yes.
So it's exciting stuff, for sure.
So big things coming up for the industry, definitely.
Yes, but it will have an impact on that traffic. I mean, in terms of traffic, we track these numbers. So I'm going to
Correct.
throw some big numbers at you. The biggest number I can think of is a zettabyte. So we're up to about 1.5 zettabytes of traffic being generated by all those networks.
Okay, nice.
And just to put in context, a zettabyte is 10 to the power of 21.
Yes.
So it's an awful lot of traffic being generated, and that's still going to be accelerated by AI. So we also, at ABI Research, we delve into AI topics,
Alright.
and with all that sort of Gen AI, is creating an awful lot of traffic, and that's all going to be borne by the network.
Right. Quite interesting.
Oh yeah, so what, in terms of another sort of key criteria, not just in terms of the amount of traffic being generated that has to be handled by the antennas, but also energy. Energy makes the world go round. Whilst 5G Advanced gives all these features and functionalities to the operator, there is one major downside, the energy consumption. So that's always going to be a constant challenge for the telco. So anyway, through all those base stations, an operator doesn't have hundreds of base stations. Often it's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of base stations. In some cases, in China, it's 1 million base stations. So if anything you do to reduce the power consumption is so important. In fact, the amount of power consumed by the radio access network represents 73% of the total OPEX of the operator. So it's a brutal thing. So anything which can bring that down is important. And then I think in terms of another aspect is also then in terms of managing the sites, while we sort of talked about, you've got all those cell sites, often there's field engineers that go to the base station, climb up it, install the antennas on the top, go away, move on to the next job, trying to get several jobs done in one day.
Yes.
And then the network operations manager back at headquarters is saying, is this antenna in the right orientation? Or the data throughput is poor, there's a reduced feed. But if you've got something which helps to manage and operate the actual antenna, be able to orientate it or see what the orientation is also very important.
Yeah, correct. Actually, some of our customers are asking us to include this solution inside the antenna as well, and
Right.
some of it externally.
What is it
Quite
called?
important. We call it APU, Generic Parameter Unit.
What sort of functionality does it have?
Yeah, it's pretty much, as you were saying, pretty much putting the antenna on the map so they don't have to actually go to the site and see where the antenna is.
Right.
So it's a key to just address those challenges you just mentioned. Correct.
Okay. Well, I think that product would sell very, very well. It's become a key requirement for many a telco network operations center.
Yeah. Jake, why don't we talk a little bit about the market?
Sure.
What do you think is the direction of the market and what is happening?
Yes, I mean, it's evolving, and I think clearly no market, no operator is moving the same speed as everyone else. When you look at developed markets like Western Europe, even North America, they're very, very proactively moving to massive MIMO type antennas. 64T, 64R, perhaps even higher ratios. 32T, 32R is meaning the main workhorse of massive MIMO. So with more sort of developed markets also concerned about form factor and profile. So active, passive antennas, having something low profile, something which emerges more into the background is quite important. But when you're looking at emerging markets, it's a different story. For them, it's about ramping up their 5G subscribers. I mean, right now we've got about 2.2 billion people on 5G. In the next 5 years, it gets to almost 4.2 billion subscribers.
Yeah,
Where are those people coming from? They're coming from emerging markets.
all right. Yeah. You mentioned two keywords there. We have both active and passive antennas
Right.
and 5G antennas in our portfolio as well. So what do you think about our solutions in that direction?
Yes, well, I mean, I think the crucial thing is the form factor. I think it's also crucial. They have the sort of those metamaterials better push the active signal through the passive antenna. That's also key. Be able to meet the requirements of the end user customer. So active and passive is really got to be a key part of your toolkit that you offer to the operators.
Definitely.
And then still with the emerging markets, they still need the 4x4, even the 8x8 type antennas, more for passive type antenna use as they ramp up coverage into more suburban areas and more urban areas for some of those operators in India or Indonesia and such like.
Now let's talk a little bit about the mobile networks operators. What do you think are the main challenges the MNOs are facing right now in the industry, in this setting you just mentioned?
Sure. Well, they've made a number of challenges. I mean, on the financial side, they're constrained by total number of subscribers. They are trying to find new applications, new services, but this does require better coverage,
Yes.
better in-building coverage. This is all quite critical. So they need to keep upgrading their infrastructure, and it still comes back to the base station. You need to upgrade the components, including obviously the antennas.
Yeah.
So a lot of challenges there, and there are also other pressures. We're meant to be saving the planet, so sustainability is another critical issue. So a lot of pressure on the telco, and they've got to get it right.
Yeah, as you just said, we know base station antennas are a key part of the elements in the network. So putting it this way, what do you think we need to do as base station antenna manufacturers in order to address those challenges?
Sure. Well, I've always seen there's a few different aspects. And one, I think, in terms of the actual manufacturing of the antenna itself, in terms of streamlining it based upon there's less cables, less soldering, less use of sort of fiberglass and so forth, more use of recyclable materials, more reduction in plastic, I think are quite critical. I think that's very important. Also improved link budget is important. It's also need to move to higher MIMO type capabilities. So there's a number of requirements being put on the antenna.
Now, most importantly, I think you understand our portfolio quite well at this point. You have studied it in your reports. So what do you think about Pro's antenna portfolio overall?
Well, I think what I like and seen is certainly your use of sort of strip line sort of technology. It makes it much cleaner. I believe it's also created more space and capacity inside the antenna. So more dipoles. More dipoles can only be a good thing in terms of link budget, quality of access to the signal. So I think that's quite important. Form factor, I think it's also wind loads. I believe that's also been brought down.
Right.
So these are all wins in my eyes.
Have you heard about our ProTrim and ProTrim Plus antenna platform? What do you think about this type of solution?
I think it's the next big step in your evolution. And as I say, in terms of bringing those sort of capabilities is advantageous. We've got a number of operators who ask about sustainability credentials of the vendors. We're also looking in terms of the coverage, putting the radio signal in the right place in terms of covering where you want to cover and not cover where you don't want to cover. So again, there's been, I believe, refinements in the technology in the ProTeams solution. So that's beneficial. Also, I think management of the actual antenna, again, is another big step forward. So yes, very impressed.
Thank you, Jake. One last question, it's a bonus question. Is there anything you wish I had asked you right now?
In terms of how you're going to see the evolution of massive MIMO, I think that's going to be quite exciting. We're going to see ramp ups from sort of 32T to 32R to 64 to higher capabilities. And there's other exciting technologies in terms of integrated sensing and communication. That's on the horizon when it comes to 6G.
Yes.
So that again relies upon a very capable antenna. So expect to see more on that front in due course.
Excellent. Thank you, Jake. That's Jake Saunders from ABI Research. Thank you, Jake, for your time here, and looking forward to see you again soon.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.